Hello, this is Angelique, and you're listening to We're Booked Up Season 2, a segment of the Gaston Speaks podcast where I, Kendall, and Andrew discuss books. For this episode, we've read a little book called Death of the Black Widow by James Patterson and J.D. Barker. There will be spoilers. If you listened to the last season of We're Booked Up, you may know that our first episode of that season was also a James Patterson and J.D. Barker book called The Noise. You'll also know that we didn't like it, and we decided to give them a second chance with Death of the Black Widow. You're going to get to find out if we regret that. We also have a special guest we might hear from, but her mom says she should sleep through the nonsense, so maybe not. Though I am looking forward to hearing her rating for the book. But first, did we have a good summer break?
You go first. Well, you had a child. So.
I did. Actually, it was a great summer.
Oh, good.
It was eventful at first, but then I don't know, we actually got to get out and do things again, and so it was really kind of fun and wonderful. And the boys had a great summer. Wyatt didn't want to go back to school.
Oh,
We had too good of a summer. Apparently, next year I should
tone it down.
yeah.
Make him do chores constantly.
Oh my gosh, yes. At least the week before school, so he's really pumped to go back.
There you go. I like it.
Yeah. How about you, Andrew?
Well, we had a good summer reading here at the library. I just got back from Massachusetts. Got to see my sister and brother-in-law and nephew. That was a lot of fun. I'm glad we got renewed for season 2.
Oh,
I feel like as if anyone who could cancel us, but we got renewed. So it's
Oh,
exciting.
we might get canceled.
Hey, we might. Yeah, it might happen. James Patterson might come after us after today.
got
Cease and
some
desist
money.
letter.
Yeah.
Stop being mean to me.
Stop. Never mind. We're
Oh
not
my
going there.
God.
We'll get there.
That would be the best thing ever. James Patterson, if you're listening, send us a cease and desist. Because that means you and all your $390 million or however much it is you have are coming after us in Gaston County.
Also, if you send that to us, we will do just a podcast where we read the cease and desist letter.
Yes.
That'd be nice.
Legally, we can. That is not.
I did not know that. Okay. Anyway, I'm
I
sorry.
don't actually know
interrupted.
if we legally can. I just said that just to. Anyway, no, we had a good summer. What about you, Angelique?
Same old, same old. Honestly. Although I was listening to the first episode of last season when we did The Noise, and I realized you read this book on vacation just like you read the last book on vacation.
Yes, I did. Yes.
So-
I realized that too.
Sorry.
So next year, if we get renewed for season 3, we need to. I need to not take a vacation before we plan it. How about that?
Aw, no,
After-
you should
after
take
we're
a
done.
vacation.
After we're
Maybe
done,
they
we'll do-
won't write another one.
I don't know. This one apparently got good
we
reviews,
could only
right?
be so lucky.
Didn't you look at the reviews and they were mostly positive?
There were a lot of positive ones for the noise too.
So that's
Yeah.
but it's James Patterson. He's gonna write whatever he wants anyway. I don't think anybody's gonna stop him.
No.
Whatever he writes, people are gonna buy and read.
And read. God help him.
Quick question: when do we have to turn in our summer reading cards?
Oh, by Saturday. This Saturday, the
Okay,
27th.
I might actually make it because I actually read 3 books this
Hey.
summer. What?
Well, that's weird because you're supposed to read 4.
Yeah, I know. I still have a week though, and I have.
Read a children's book.
I've read a lot of children's
Add
books.
one of those in. You're in. You're in.
No, I downloaded because I took Angelique's advice and I've been listening to books, and I
Yeah.
downloaded the Tiffany Haddish book that was nominated for a Grammy.
Yeah, the last black unicorn.
Unicorn.
Yeah,
Yeah, good
she's
times.
funny. That's a good one.
She is funny. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Are we ready?
My
to...
apologies.
Let's do this, y'all. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll read the synopsis and then we'll move on to the rating. All right. Death of the Black Widow by James Patterson and J.D. Barker.
Did we all have the same book this time? Remember, his house is really insane. Kidding. That's a flashback to season 1. We have to have continuity between season 1 and season 2.
Side note, that was a solid burn because I was mean to you a minute ago, so I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Balance.
be pre-recording. Let's talk about the dirt that was slung in this room, this new podcasting studio, by the way.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
So,
I
that's
like
fun.
these. I just pointed to the sound dampening. It looks like canvas.
It's kind of like when I do air quotes and no one can read it. I mean, no one can see it because I'm.
They're acoustic tiles.
Acoustic
I
tiles.
think
Very
that's what they
nice.
called them.
Well, they're pretty. Okay, I apologize.
All
Back
right,
on
Angelique,
point.
go for it.
All right. She destroys the men she loves and escapes every time. The most dangerous killer James Patterson has ever created is also his most seductive. On his first night with Detroit PD, Officer Walter O'Brien is called to a murder scene. A terrified 20-year-old has bludgeoned her kidnapper with skill that shocks even Walter's veteran partner. The young woman is also a brilliant escape artist. Her bold flight from police custody makes the case impossible to solve, and for Walter even more impossible to forget. By the time Walter is promoted to detective, his fascination with the missing gray-eyed woman is approaching obsession. And when Walter discovers that he's not alone in his search, one truth is certain. This deadly string of secrets didn't begin in his home city, but he's going to make sure it ends there. So...
Again, not a bad blurb.
No.
The
No.
blurb's very good. I don't think it
Whoever writes his
fits.
blurbs... No. The noise
Nah.
one didn't fit either, because it focused on Tennant and Sophie,
I
and they were
know.
barely in the book.
Oh yeah, by the end of it, it was like, yeah,
Tennant and Sophie, who?
yeah.
Uh,
Well, I guess Sophie became a little like demon exorcist child.
She ascended.
She
Yeah.
ascended.
Yeah, ugh,
Yeah. No, she like I don't know.
PTSD flashbacks to the noise.
Yeah. So I take umbrage with the fact that they say that she goes after the men she loves, or she
Mhm.
kills. Like, there is no indication that she has any affections towards any of these people. I mean, a little bit towards Walter, but even then, she doesn't kill him. Not right away, anyway. Like, she doesn't kill him. She never kills him.
No, no.
So I take that, and then hometown, it's Detroit. It makes it sound like she's like
Yeah.
coming into this small suburban, like, quiet.
And I
Yeah.
didn't know that was his hometown necessarily. I guess they mentioned it, but it was more like, you know, I mean, they talked a little bit about his past because it ended up being kind of important in the plot.
Mhm.
Actually, very important in the plot.
Mhm.
But really, there wasn't. I guess it was his hometown, but it didn't make a big deal about.
Yeah.
It didn't make a big deal about it. It was more like, oh, I was a foster kid, but it didn't say like in Detroit.
So I'm going to need the book blurb author to write this book.
Yeah, maybe better.
They didn't want to read it either.
Apparently they did
They read like the first 20 pages. They're like, I got it. I'm good. I'm good.
That's all we need to know.
All right, so ratings.
Mm,
Andrew, you go first.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna do like 2 stars. 2 stars, and I'll tell you why. 1.5 to 2, and I'll tell you, the first like, you know what? I'll say 1.5 to 2, somewhere in there, and I'll explain why later.
I'm still undecided. You go ahead, Angelique.
Probably like 2,
Yeah.
2.5, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 2 to 2.5. We should talk about our rating. Okay, Andrew, why did you choose your rating?
Oh, so for the first like 3, by the way, this book was 517 pages long.
Oh
Mhm.
my God.
But we had 3 months to read it.
Or
That's-
24 hours, whatever, whatever, it works. I was on vacation, okay? I didn't read. So no, but the first 300 pages are actually kind of like a solid stereotypical cop
Mhm.
criminal thriller.
Mhm.
They're engaging. There's nothing mind-blowing. There's nothing, it's definitely a stereotype, but it's engaging, it's entertaining. I flew through those first 300 pages. So the
Mhm.
first 300 pages, I'm like, okay, this could be a solid like criminal mystery. And I get why people like those,
Mhm.
And then so like the first 300 pages were probably like a 3, and then it jumped the shark. And then jumped another shark. I mean, it jumped Bruce from Jaws, y'all. It just kept going and going and going. Sorry, so it was one of those where I lasted longer liking it than I did the noise. Because to me,
Mhm.
after about 80 pages of the noise, I was like, I do
Yeah.
not care. This one, I mean, more than half of it. It was even into the first part of the FBI, and they go to that field, and even some of that stuff I was like, I don't know what's going on, but it was interesting.
Oh, are you talking the garden?
Yeah,
in
the
this book?
garden.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay. I
yeah.
wasn't
So
sure if you
even into like almost 400 pages, but then it to me. So it's a little bit higher than the noise because at least part of it was actually readable and decent.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
What did I say? 2?
2.
2.5, yeah.
Okay, so I actually think the plot was better. Like, it wasn't as confusing. It didn't double back on itself as much. It stayed straight and narrow. It made sense, mostly. And then the characters, I didn't outright hate any character.
That's true. That's true. Because there were some of the noise where it was just like Dr. Chan.
Oh
That was
my
just
God,
so
Dr. Chan
annoying.
was
And
so-
this one, no, none of them were like. I was intrigued to see what happened to them.
Yes,
Yeah.
like I feel like and it's also, so the characters weren't that bad, the plot wasn't that bad. Honestly, I was good with reading it all the way through. I definitely sensed the shift in when we went from the cop thriller to the more horror aspects. And I actually, upon reflection, I kind of like the horror. I mean, I knew it was coming because of J.D. Barker, and so I feel like that shift really happened in the insane asylum. Right? It wasn't
Yeah.
insane asylum. I shouldn't say that. What was it?
It was. An insane asylum.
I know, but it's not what we're supposed to say anymore. I apologize.
A mental
I forget
hospital.
what they called it.
A mental hospital.
I know, but it was also run by nuns, which I didn't
Yeah.
know that was still
Well,
a
in the
thing.
Midwest, a lot of, and even up north, a lot of hospitals and stuff are still Catholic affiliated.
I did not know that.
Yep.
Okay, well then that makes sense. I just didn't know that. Anyway, so I mean, I thought that was some of the most fun because anyway, we can get into that in a minute. But what I didn't like about it was in the very beginning as they were going through, felt like they were really relying on stereotypes to like get them through, and it was a little bit sexist and a little bit racist, and I just was like, I'm gonna knock that down. It would have probably been a 3 to 3.5 star book if it weren't so sexist and racist.
Yeah.
Angelique.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it was a stereotype. It was definitely a stereotype.
Yeah.
I actually think the first half was written by James Patterson, and I think the second half was written by Barker. And then the ending almost felt like Patterson.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Phoebes.
I didn't know if she got a squeak in there.
She did. I heard something.
Her eyes are open. Okay.
Okay, so I gave my rating because it was a little. I mean, I didn't like the noise. I didn't really like this book, but this book was more cohesive, more put together than the noise.
The ending was more conclusive too. You know, the noise. We had no idea in the end what happened.
Yeah.
This one was very cut and dry.
Yeah.
You know, even the last cliffhanger, it wasn't really a cliffhanger because he explained what was going to happen. You know, like the phone ringing or whatever.
Yeah.
That last line.
Who was on the other end of the phone, though?
The guy who was like the techie guy for the SWAT team.
Yeah.
They basically told him, they got on the phone, they were like, you're about to get a call from like all the like news organizations in the world about what just happened, and literally the cell phone started to ring or something.
Okay.
See, I got to the end of the noise and I still to this day don't understand.
They killed a guy.
What?
They basically just killed a guy.
Killed the senator guy.
I know, but then I'm sorry. It was
very unclear. It was
really
very
bad.
messy.
It really at the end.
This one was
at
definitely
least
cleaner.
there was a definite. You know what happens. You know how it ends. There's probably not a sequel because it was pretty clear cut. And it also sounds like they wrote this one earlier because it says first time in print, which makes me wonder if this one was one they wrote.
They do that with a lot of his books, though, because he has so many.
So
they
stuff
do
that
with
they
more
put on the
Roberts
back burner
books.
and then they decide to publish it later.
Well,
Maybe?
this one felt like they got the feedback from the first book and fixed it. So maybe they heard our podcast.
So instead of a cease and desist letter, you should send us cash.
Like they wrote
to
the
thank us.
noise. They wrote the
Cash
noise
money.
through email, and they wrote this one through Google Docs.
Great. Dude, maybe the next time we'll get on, they'll write it on Zoom together.
Do you think they'd actually met?
What do you mean next
seen
time?
each other face to face?
Yeah, I'm kidding.
I don't know. That's a great question.
They probably have.
I would assume so.
I assume so.
At least via Zoom. I don't know if they've been. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's a good question.
All right, let's start with the discussion questions.
Yes.
What did you like most about the book? What did you like least?
See, I actually hated the horror aspect.
Mm-hmm.
I just did. It's not my genre, and I don't know. And that weird scene with like the nuns and the I don't know. It was just that's when to me that's the sharp. That's when it jumped Bruce. I'm like done. I literally was like okay, whatever. It got better after that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the ending was very cohesive and it had a satisfying ending considering everything that had happened. But yeah, the horror aspect to me was kind of. You're right. The first part of the book had those tropes, and unfortunately, male dominated.
Mm-hmm.
Those type of mystery tropes. You're gonna have some of that, but at least I knew what it was. Like, I couldn't visualize the horror elements that well because I'm just not. That's not my genre. And so it was hard for me. I'm just like, okay, so there's just like these weird like nuns just standing in a circle. Like to me, I couldn't visualize it. And so that's when I really, really struggled with it. I didn't particularly love the first half of it. You're right. There were some serious descriptive issues and well, the whole thing, I mean, the whole idea of like this killer woman assassin.
Yeah.
I mean, none of it is told in like a female empowerment way.
No, this is not Killing Eve.
No, exactly. A very good example of
It
how
can
you
be
can do that
done.
with female writers, though, like Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Whereas
I love her.
this one is definitely still male. It's at least okay. She was less offensive than the description of Dr. Chan.
So yeah, no, what I
They never described her as short. I told that to her.
No, they did not. Well, although she could have been. Apparently, she could have looked like anything.
That's true.
Oh, did you
That's true.
notice that they never seemed to have talked to like any straight women about her? She was always a beautiful woman, and like
It
they
was a
talked to-
gay guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I don't think she was offensive. I think it was their like Walter O'Brien as a young man describing like, well, even as an old man, describing women that he comes in contact with. Like one character, he mentioned that she wasn't wearing a bra, and she really should have because she was past her prime. And I was like, "Excuse you, sir, it's the middle of the night, and you're knocking on her door. You got no bits. She's wearing a robe. You can like chill out, okay?"
That's true.
Anyway,
That's
so
true.
it's like little things like
Yeah.
that I was like, "Oh, that's just gross."
Well, I think it goes back to, and we said it with the last one, these two men don't know how to write female characters.
Oddly enough, though, I'll tell you, one of my favorite characters was a woman.
Oh, really? Okay. Which one?
She has a bit role. Hang on, let me look up her name. I wrote it down because it made me laugh.
I love how she has a bit role.
Yeah. Norma Grendel. So the lady from 1948 who hired Golston, was that
yeah,
his name?
Golston.
To go search. They went, Walter O'Brien went and found her
In the
and
nursing home?
and
Yeah.
interviewed her. And she said something funny. She said she found out that Golston was dead, and her response was, "Well, hell, now I'll never get my money."
Okay, yeah, that was good.
And I
That
was like,
good.
"Oh, funny old lady. I like it. I like it a lot."
So the only solidly written character gets like 2 paragraphs.
Yeah, and then the other character
for female characters.
seriously, the other character I liked was the Sister Mary Susan. So the lady
she
who
was
was
cool.
helping,
Yeah.
who was like, "Actually, we could just look in this file, and why don't we do this?" Like she was helping them not be so dumb.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue as to why you did or did not like the book.
No, that was it. I mean, again, comparatively speaking, I think I gave the noise like a -600 because I absolutely could not. It was such a struggle to get through it. This one I got through. I
Yeah.
got through. There were parts I didn't like. Again, it was either horror, which I'm not a fan of, and I can't visualize in my mind, or it was a stereotype. But at least I also felt like just there were times in the noise where, like, you read a chapter and you're like, this never got connected back to anything.
Mhm.
Everything kind of fit into place.
Right.
There was even one where I was like, they never addressed this, but then it wasn't a lot of it. I can't remember what it was, but I remember later being like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
It wasn't big, but at least that whatever that little loose end got tied up. So I definitely liked it better, and maybe it's something where as they write more, they'll start to be cohesive. What we talked about is definitely not a round robin.
Mm-mm.
Last time was definitely, it was
Yeah.
like, I don't think they had any idea where they were going with this. This one felt like they knew where the beginning was, they knew where the ending was.
Mm-hmm.
The journey was just a little rough still.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. What about you, Angelique?
Yeah.
I didn't really like a whole lot about the book. Yeah.
I didn't either. I didn't say
Yeah,
it.
no. So I can't really think of anything I like the most about it. The thing I liked the least about it, it seemed so very procedural,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
like a CBS primetime show. Like some of the characters were like plucked from like shows like that 19-year-old tech with the SWAT team who like they had to point out that he graduated college and he was like 14 or something.
Mm-hmm.
He's a super
Yeah,
genius.
that's every tech in like
Yeah.
14 NCIS shows.
Yeah. It's like completely pointless. They could have just had him be a tech and given him a name and a personality. They didn't have to
right.
give him a backstory.
They should have spent more time on that old lady in the nursing home.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're right, though. Every single one of those shows, all the tech guys, like Mark Harmon's never going to be the tech guy, you
Yeah.
know, with the silver hair.
Mhm.
It's always some like geeky young guy who uses words and can miraculously hack into every government
Yeah.
thing without
Yeah.
any. No, you cannot. People can't do that. It's not a thing. So I don't understand. But every single one of those shows, it's like, oh, give me 5 seconds. Okay, yes, I have access to like the Air Force's satellites. No, you don't. Like, you don't have that.
Oh, I love that he replaced 3 other people. Like he was doing his job so well, and then he also did like 3 other people's jobs so well that she really just needed him. Oh,
So really, she
okay.
was an economy killer.
Yeah.
Okay? that
Yeah.
police chief or whatever she was.
She's a
She
SWAT
The commander.
commander.
she's a SWAT commander who I mean, as if Detroit has not suffered enough, ma'am. Okay. Then you bring in this geeky weirdo and eliminate 4 people's jobs. How dare you? How dare you? I have a job fair today, so it's on my mind. Anyway, ignore me.
I'm sorry. Okay. Yes.
Did you go?
No.
It's your turn.
Not technically.
I want you to notice that nothing's changed. We still have, I'm sure people are like, what are these people like in real life? This is what we're like in real life.
Jump all over the place. Very little structure. Maybe we'll find our flow by season 3.
The funny thing is that when I listen to it, I guess because I'm so used to it, I'm like, God, we are so funny. And I'm like, I wonder if everyone else thinks. Maddie does. Maddie thinks we're funny.
Well, that's
so,
Hi, Maddie. Thank you.
yes, thank you, Mads.
Okay, so thing I liked, I didn't have the most. I liked little things. So I actually enjoyed in the beginning how they revealed that they old men that were going to that were like, it wasn't a stakeout. I thought it was a stakeout at first, and then it was like, oh no, they are the, oh gosh, my words are failing me. It wasn't a stakeout. They were the perpetrators. They were the ones going in, and they were like holding this club at a as hostages or whatever. I was like, that was clever. Also, I kind of didn't like the flash forward scene, like the now scenes. I'm like, you could have just put it at the end. I felt like,
Because that part worked. The now part, like if you had pieced all that together as the
and just
last like
put it in
60
the last
pages.
chapter. Yeah,
Because
chapter.
what they wrote in those chapters worked, but you're right. It
wasn't necessary.
cut too far because you didn't know enough.
I didn't care when they were going to the now. I just wanted to read the then, because the then was better written than the now. There was more context, and it wasn't like it felt. Go ahead.
I felt like they could have started with the now, did the entire story in the past, and then went back to the now. That might
There
have been
you
better.
go.
Because once you got
Go.
the context, the now made a lot of, like,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, you're right. Some of those flashbacks, you weren't given enough.
It was a
to
solid
those.
climax.
Yeah.
Having it in the now, I have no problem with that. I think you're right. I think it was like interspersing the now cuts. I was like, why it doesn't push anything forward?
That's true. Very true.
So I didn't really love that. But I did. Hang on, I gotta consult my notes.
Y'all are so thoughtful.
I can't
I just
speak
make
though.
up
Do you
stuff.
hear me? I just can't speak. So, it did keep me guessing. I like that. Like, I have predictions. Some of them were true. Some of them weren't. Side note, it really bugged me that it took them 399 pages for him to say, well, maybe she can change her appearance to what somebody wants.
Even though there were like 600 clues that was probably the case leading up to that.
Even his internal monologue, like 60 pages prior, was
Right.
like, oh, she is going to look like whatever you want her to look like. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just like, my predictions aren't really that important now. So, and then I actually did like I was talking about the scene in the mental facility, because it was like, the pacing was good, and you were actually on a search, on a journey. You were trying to find her in there, whereas all of the prior interactions with her was like, get her to admit who she really is. She's not some 19-year-old girl who's like crying and snot all over her face and come save me before she like kills everybody.
Right.
It was actually like, she's saying who she is, and they're pursuing her, and it was fun, and it was creepy, and it was like, you don't know where she is, you don't know if the orderlies are going to come get you. So that did feel like a movie scene.
Leading up to, it was when the
Uh-huh.
6 nuns in the room, it fell apart. But you're right. Those
Super agree.
like 40 pages between where they arrived and
Uh-huh.
that scene, you fly through them.
So
They're
what,
very cinematic. Yeah.
yeah, part of what confused me about the weird nuns was, like, are they trying to say, yes, indeed, she is shedding husks of people? Or are these nuns? But I didn't know she could project, like, and change other people, like, the way other people could look, too. That was very confusing.
And maybe that was something maybe that's why another reason I didn't like it was it never really was explained how that happened.
Mm-hmm.
It was always just she and her appearance could change.
Yeah.
So how did
How did
so
the
that
nuns
was,
work? It
other
didn't
than
really
it was
make
spooky.
sense.
It was just
Yeah.
the spooky scene.
But the last thing I didn't like is there is no real need for the rigmarole of going through, of getting the commander to come and, like, holding the club hostage and stuff like that. Like, I don't like idiot plots. It makes no sense to me. Like, I get that she lured them to the club, so she chose the location, but they could have just taken the salt truck, done a few laps, called in or pulled the fire alarm, called in the bomb threat, evacuated the building. When she can't cross, he could hug her and boom, blow everything
Yeah.
up. I did like that the vest was the bomb and not the bomb already being inside.
Yeah.
That was clever. That was it. But yeah, yeah.
You
Okay.
should have wrote the book.
Well, I should have edited it. Like just minor stuff. Just
Yeah.
minor stuff, and this book would have been so much better. But
So many people died because of that plan.
I know they straight up were shooting innocent people.
Yeah.
How is that okay? And
Yeah,
then-
because you're supposed to be rooting for them.
I know.
And you are in many ways.
And then later
you know.
in the book, it was like, Walter doesn't want too many civilians to die. Well,
yeah.
should have planned better.
He shouldn't have shot them. Because he was the one given the go-ahead. Yeah, shoot her.
Yeah, and they had like
dude.
the crazy Ran Red who,
Mhm.
clearly had, I mean, no offense, but he had issues. It's like, he's not going to be discerning. I mean, he's
Especially if they all see different women, then there should have been one person who said, that's her.
just, yeah.
Doesn't matter. He could have been waiting out of the door. Everyone, or like Walter could have been waiting for her on the inside of the salt ring so she can't cross over. There's no need to kill all the SWAT people. There's no need for the SWAT to be there.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to die in infamy anyway.
Also, he should have been fired. Like,
Oh, yes.
that bothered me. They just kept giving him a second chance because he was a foster youth or something. I'm like, he literally defied direct orders, stalked this woman. I mean, turns out she's, evil
Evil.
incarnate. But
Yeah.
at the point, but if you didn't know that, but then they kept catching him. He should have been fired.
Yeah, I didn't get the whole suspended license thing.
They
Just
fired those 4
fire him.
people for that one geeky guy, but they keep Walter on. Another problem I have.
Well, yes, because the whole time they're like, Walter, he's going up the ranks so fast. He made detective in 6 years or whatever. And then he went from detective to FBI. Like, he is
For, like,
getting
a day.
promoted. For a day.
That's right. He never really. That wasn't a weird plot device because he never was a member of the FBI. Or was he? I mean, did he ever?
He
Who
was in
knows?
training or whatever.
Because then they talk about like this elite team.
Yeah. But
Anyway, sorry.
okay, yeah, they do go back and say, like, oh, we work for the DOD. Dude,
Yeah, I don't know.
that's not the point. The point is he keeps getting promoted, but when they actually talk, when the characters talk about his service record, they're like, man, you drink. Man, you were like calling all those bolos. Like, you put out like 60 of them. Like, I'm putting my neck on the line for you, kid, here. And I'm like, well, then why did you promote him?
Yeah, I would have just fired him. Like, if you put out one more bolo, you're fired.
Like,
And then this story would have been over. It would have been a 75-page.
So the
novella.
only reason Brayman died was so he couldn't rat Walter out.
pretty much.
And I kind of liked him.
I liked
know.
Brayman,
I liked
too.
Brayman.
You know who I pictured was Giancarlo Esposito.
That's perfect.
And my whole time. And then when he died, I'm like, man, they killed Giancarlo Esposito.
How could they?
I know, he's one of the best.
I liked
because-
Raymond too.
Yeah, he was one of the
Yeah.
They killed him too soon. I don't
Agreed.
know. I felt like there could have explored more with that character.
They could have just not had Nadler. What was his name? Nadler? The first
Nadler,
guy
I
that
think so.
died. And they could have just kept Brayman all the way through.
Did
and then,
he die?
Did Nadler die?
Did Nadler die?
No, I think he just did. He die?
No, okay, so in the reports, it kept talking about how 2 of his partners died.
Oh, I don't remember Nadler dying on page though.
I don't either. Anyway,
Maybe they just
He was
forgot that
old.
he had a
Maybe he
second
just
partner.
like had a heart
Retired.
attack or something.
I don't know. I don't.
Remember, he was significantly older. He was like 20 years
Yeah.
older.
'Cause-
And so by the time Walter got to the end, he might have just like
Died.
died.
Whatever. They could have just kept Brayman from the beginning.
I agree. Yeah, because then they went back to Nadler, which
Mm-hmm.
he was gone. Like it didn't. Because again, apparently this guy had problems from when he was working with Nadler.
Yeah.
So they went back to Nadler to like figure out what his problems were. And I'm like, again, you're like, well, if you have to keep going back to previous supervisors to talk about
That's
how
a
horrible he
problem.
was, you're right. Yeah.
Whereas if they kept Brayman the whole time, which we all liked, I think we
Yeah,
just
he
agreed
was-
we all liked
he was a
Brayman.
well-written character. Yeah.
You're gonna have the development of a relationship where yes, maybe Brayman's gonna stick his neck out and trust Walter a little bit more than some. Like, he was only on the job like a week with him.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Pointless.
Tell me how you really feel.
It feels like they tried to cast the cast of old dogs in this book and like wrote it for them. Wild dogs, old dog. What is
What? How about the one with
Was it
like,
Red? That movie Red with like Bruce Willis was all old spies.
it? So I
And you
liked
know.
that, but yes.
And Morgan Freeman could have played that character, and he was in Along Came a Spider. So
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. I wonder if they just straight up stole him from his own book because he's a James Patterson character.
oh dear God, they did that. That's what they did.
He's Alex Cross's cousin.
It's just like an alternate reality where Alex Cross gets it. Oh.
I have so many questions now.
Andrew, I can see your gears grinding.
I
in your
know.
brain.
Yeah, I'm like, Well, I mean, let's face it. When you write 7,000 books, some of those tropes
You're
are going
gonna
to
repeat
repeat
those
itself.
things.
I mean, you know.
You're gonna repeat them.
Okay.
And Alex Cross is like the one character that was actually well done and people actually still like.
Yeah.
The funny thing about James Patterson is people check out all these books and then they bring them back and they're like, except for the Alex Cross books, which are the only ones he actually still writes by himself. And I'm like, so there was at one point a time where, you know what I mean, where his pure what he did, people really liked. But it's gotten to the point with all these authors and all this kind of stuff where they're just like, yeah, but I'm going to keep reading it because it's James Patterson. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Well,
I'm not going to do that.
I read the first few Alex Cross in the series, and they were great.
Yeah.
I loved them. I loved his Nana. Oh, you don't know what that means.
I assume his grandmother?
Yeah, Alex Cross, a prominent character in his life is his Nana, and
Yeah.
I loved that, and she was amazing. See, it's possible to write good characters.
Although I will say it seems to be older women. that
Yeah,
write
he can
that.
write old ladies, but he apparently can't write.
But if they're under the age of 35, they're either they're not good.
I guess if it's
Either
going to be
short,
the
powerful
object of the affection,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you just
Be
can't
pretty.
do it.
All right. Were
Sorry.
there any quotes or passages that stood out to you? Why? Why not?
Not really. I mean, you talked about the one with the that was funny.
What was her name? Norma Grendel.
Norma Grendel.
That
yeah.
sounds like she should be living in the Harry Potter world. But yeah, Norma Grendel. Yeah.
I didn't know it wasn't because it was so procedural,
Mm-hmm.
because it was so stereotypical. There wasn't anything that was just particularly.
That's why it sort of stood out to me sometimes. Like there's this on page 435 in the book that we have. There's a scene where it's when they're in that hospital
Mm-hmm.
and they're looking for her, and she comes over the PA
Yeah.
or whatever, and somebody, I think Walter says it's all a game to her. I'm like, yeah, of course it is. You don't have to point it out.
Okay, so I
It's kinda
actually
like climb on Spider Monkey. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I actually needed this particular climb on Spider Monkey moment because I kept going back to the question of why did she keep Walter alive? And it's because she just chose him to be the game. Like, that's the only reason he's alive is because she was like, yeah, I'll choose you.
Because they made some comment about she gets bored because she's been around forever.
Well,
and
duh.
So I'm sure he's not the first Walter.
She was playing with her food.
Yeah.
It's not so much that they had to point out. It's the game. It's like how he said it.
That could be true. Anyway,
Yeah.
It's a trap.
it can still be a dumb moment. I just
Yeah.
needed it because I guess, it can still be written in a better way. I just
I
needed
think
to
even in
point
the
it out.
end, they never, even though they kind of described and they said she's been doing this forever and all this kind of stuff, they're really, and I know that that's a lot of horror. You don't necessarily have that backstory, but I don't it just seemed, I never really got her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I never really got enough backstory to make it.
Yeah.
You know, even in some of the big horror, you understand Michael Myers, you
Yeah.
understand Freddy Krueger, so what is this back? She's just been doing this for years and she's like this witch who does,
They don't really build up the connection between her and Walter. Like, yeah, she was there when he was a kid, but
That's
okay,
creepy.
but why? Yeah.
It's
I
like
saw
I
your
didn't
soul.
like
and
that
it called to me.
twist.
Yeah.
it's like,
that was gross.
I was making out with your dad, and I'm like, I want to make out with you, but I'm gonna wait till you're old. That's
Gross.
grooming. It's gross.
It's gross.
It is though, but I mean, that's my point is, and what about that made her be like, that's the one I'm going to.
Yeah.
Agree.
There's
Agree.
no origin. How about that? There's no
Yeah.
origin story for her, and so because there isn't, and God, do not write one. I do not. If you do, I'm not reading it because I didn't really particularly think her character was that engaging, which I think's for the villain.
Yeah.
You want the villain to be engaging. The best characters sometimes are the engaging
Yeah.
villains.
She
Think
was
Heath
just-
Ledger and the Joker.
She's just like a super-powered femme fatale that doesn't really work.
that's just been around for
Yeah.
centuries,
Okay.
eating men. I was like, okay, yeah. I don't know. That was I struggle with that.
It's just they're leaning too much on stereotypes and
Yeah.
tropes, and they just need to move a little bit beyond it. Like, you have to have them in good storytelling sometimes, fine, but you could do better.
I just think it was like, you know what? We're just gonna throw this woman, and we're just gonna make her a bad guy, and people are just not gonna care.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm like, okay, if that's what you're doing, do that. But then they start adding some backstory, and so it's like there maybe was a plan at some point. They just never managed to squeeze it in 517 pages.
They couldn't flesh it out.
Just a little bit.
All right. So let's skip that question. If the book were made into a movie, who would play each of the lead characters? Or who would play just one of the characters?
Brayman is Giancarlo Esposito.
Okay.
Solid.
Solid. For the woman, I thought of Tatiana Maslany.
Love her.
But now I'm thinking Jodie Comer.
I don't know who that is.
It could
Killing
be multiple
Eve.
people.
Killing Eve.
Ooh, yeah.
The blonde.
Well, it's going to have to be a bunch of people if she looks different
That's
to other
true.
people.
That's true.
Yeah.
But that's why I thought about Tatiana Maslany,
Oh,
because Orphan
yeah.
Black.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She's kind of played that character before. She won an Emmy for it, but she was really good.
She was really good.
I don't know about the evil part, but I know that she could play that. They were good at changing her wigs and making her look different, all that kind of stuff. So
She can do the borderline evil-y stuff because she was in Perry Mason as a
that's right.
character, and she
That's
did
right.
great in that too.
Yeah, so that's kind of who I thought of. Walter, I mean,
Clint Eastwood.
okay, he's not that old.
Well, so
But
Walter.
he is because they aged. She kissed him and aged him.
Now I'm trying to think of like Clint Eastwood, like with his cane, growling like the whole time. I don't know.
Walter was such a boring character for me, though. Honestly, he's just such standard.
So Mark Harmon.
Yeah. pretty much. But like, I don't know. I can't think of who young Walter would be.
Donnie Wahlberg.
You're a genius.
Blue Bloods. He's like this the same character with
Oh
like
my
the
God,
grizzled
yes.
face and Donnie Wahlberg.
I concur. Donnie Wahlberg. Done. Okay, who else? Who else do we
Well,
need to
Nadler,
cast?
I thought of because I'm actually watching right now something called We Own This City, which is from the pair who did The Wire,
Mhm.
and some of the characters from some of the actors from The
Mhm.
Wire are in this. And if you ever notice, they do a lot of these same actors will appear,
Mhm.
but there's this bigger guy, and then he was like the head of homicide in The Wire, and now he's the police chief in this one. Completely different characters, although it's both
Mhm.
set in Baltimore, so it feels like a sequel, but it's not. I don't know why when they described Nadler, that's who popped into my head. Do not know the actor. I'm sorry, but he's great. But I think it's because he's playing Nadler, the kind of older,
Mhm.
heavy set, but you kind of like him. Yeah. But again, it can be any nondescript.
Yeah.
The guy who played Dirk and the two guys in Brooklyn
I
Nine-Nine,
was thinking that was my person.
Scully and Hitchcock.
Yeah,
One of
Hitchcock and
those two.
Scully could be. Oh, I love it. I love it.
Oh, I missed that show. Anyway,
It's such a good show.
what about Red?
Oh, I feel
Hmm.
like who is it in my brain?
He's got to be.
John Malkovich.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's who was playing in my brain.
Slightly kooky,
Mm-hmm.
but good actor. I like
Mhm.
it. I like that. Who are some of the other characters? It's bad that we're like, who are the other people?
Okay, so the main ones are like Walter, Lincoln Seeley.
Oh, I
Red
kept
Larson?
thinking of David Boreanaz for that because he plays Seeley Booth in Bones.
Okay,
And so every time they said Seeley, I was like, oh,
that could be him. Yeah.
it's David Boreanaz.
Brayman. We already
Wait,
said.
yeah, it's
Giancarlo
Giancarlo
Esposito. Come on.
Who else was there? That's about it, really.
Yeah.
Not-
A lot of
Rigby.
these.
What about Rigby? She was probably a major character.
She felt like a Jennifer Beals to me.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have any problem. I honestly didn't have any problem with her. She was fine.
Yeah.
Like, but she wasn't.
Yeah.
She was there.
Yeah.
There. She had a
was a
horrible
plot
finale.
device.
Yeah, which is kind of sad. Yeah, I would pick a nice.
I don't know. She kind of had like a hero moment though.
Mhm.
She did.
She like picked
did.
up that gun and that she didn't work, but
She
She
tried.
did work.
Now I'm trying to think of who would play the old lady in the nursing home.
Oh my gosh. Oh, who was the funny lady from Nebraska?
June Squibb.
There we
Yes,
go.
Yes, and then the
Mhm.
nun. Who would play the nun? Because they didn't make her seem like she was elderly necessarily.
No.
I kept thinking she was like Amy Archer in disguise, honestly.
That would have been
Oh.
an excellent
know.
plot twist.
But then she wasn't. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh well, why was she there?
I'm trying to think of
Well,
like
she
a,
had to like
I know, she had to-
propel the scene because the boys weren't doing it.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't seen in a while who's strong on set. Stockard Channing.
Okay. Yeah.
Kind of older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has that great voice.
Yeah. That sultry.
Yeah.
Allison Janney. Someone like that. Someone that's like.
Allison Janney, because the way she was written, I just kept thinking that she's undercutting what they're saying, but they don't know it.
Yeah.
So Allison Janney, yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm not trying to rewrite The West Wing. I promise. Although,
You could.
now that I'm thinking about it, no, I'm
Put an
kidding.
evil succubus in the West Wing.
Yeah, there you go. That would be a book.
Bradley Whitford could have played one of those like older cop characters. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, Martin Sheen could be Walter.
He could have been yeah, he could have been Walter.
Oh, did you notice there was another Frasier?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I'm like, y'all pick new names. There are like thousands
His
of
character
names.
was kind of...
Yeah.
He was a Pat. He was ugh.
Well, at first he seemed like a good doctor.
I was, yes.
Then I guess as he
Yeah.
got scared, he was just kind of became a butthead. But
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, it's also kind of like, well, I mean, I do get it. All of a sudden you're being swarmed and there's this crazy woman going around eating people and you're kind of like, whoa, Nelly,
No,
what
the
is
thing
going
the
is,
shock.
even after he saw her eat someone, he was like, "She's not a supernatural creature," kind of thing.
It's just a game.
It's just- what kind of games is he playing at home?
I know. So it'd have to be someone dumb in that role.
Like he
won't-
went out of his way to find Walter O'Brien for Red Larson, and then suddenly he just
Mhm.
doesn't. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, the Frasier thing bothered the hump out of me.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I
it
wish
really
they could- I'm
did.
wondering if one of them has a Frasier in their life.
Probably. Like one of their kids or something's named Frasier.
They spelled it different, but yes.
Yeah.
Maybe they just love, like, Kelsey Grammer.
Maybe they do. Kelsey
I've never seen a
Grammer.
Niles or a Daphne, though, so they need to step up. Okay.
Okay.
What else you got?
So we've sort of already done this, but how would you compare this book to The Noise?
Better.
Better. Yeah.
Better plot, better characters. Less supernatural, but it worked out.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think again, with The Noise, it never felt like they could really figure out how to be conclusive about how to finish that
Yeah.
supernatural component.
Yeah.
I still go back to that scene where they walk in. It's like the 1960s, and lady just kills herself. And
Oh,
they never
yeah,
explain
yeah.
it. I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. So this one I understood start to finish. Again, some of the characters were definitely better. Even for 517 pages, it moved so much
Yeah.
faster than
Yeah.
like the
Agreed.
400 pages of The Noise. So maybe they are getting better.
Like I said, they used a Google Doc this time.
They improved.
They did
Yeah.
improve, yeah. I think this one was more. I think the last one was more J.D. Barker. I think this one was more James
Did you
Patterson.
notice that J.D. Barker's biography is not in the back of the book?
Yeah.
It's just James Patterson.
Yep. Which is
Aw.
On the back
interesting.
flap, which is sad.
But it does make me think
Yeah.
that though that they put J.D. Barker in there, but that
Wow,
really
what a
true.
picture, James. Maybe you should be Walter.
That might be interesting.
He was in Castle. He played as himself,
I
but he
know.
was in Castle.
I
Okay.
enjoyed those poker scenes. I also
Yeah.
like Castle. See, I like crime
Yeah.
novels. I'm good
Yeah.
with serial kind of
But this one felt more like a it's like they took a James
Yeah.
Patterson crime novel and they're like, okay, JD, add
a
the
hard
supernatural
twist,
horror
yeah.
component. But I think that's why we liked it better, because there is a reason why James Patterson is as popular as it is. Has it gotten ridiculous? Has it become a machine? Is it overpowering other people on charts and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah. But to also be fair, he supports a lot of authors, and a lot of these authors,
Like J.D. Barker.
like J.D.
Yeah.
Barker, a lot of these authors, then you start to see, at least in our library, that when their solo books come out, you
Mhm.
start to see a lot of holds on them because they took the chance. He took the chance
Mhm.
on them. So I'm not completely like anti James Patterson, but I do think there's a reason why he became popular. It's because of those well-written crime novels.
Yeah.
This one felt closer to that than The
Mhm.
Noise, which I think is why it was more successful.
Agree.
All right. So we sort of enjoyed the book. We
We sort of
certainly
enjoyed
enjoyed
the
it
book.
more than The Noise.
Ugh, God, The
It was a
Noise.
page turner.
It was definitely a page turner in a good way. The
hard to-
Noise, I wanted to turn the page to end it
Yeah.
as
Just
quickly as humanly possible.
flip through
This
it.
one, I actually was like, okay, I kind of want to know how it ends.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't mind reading books that are kind. I mean, I'm not gonna like 6 months from now still be thinking about what happened in Death of the Black Widow. But I flew through it, and I don't fly through books mostly. I mean, I just don't, because I don't have time, and it takes a lot of effort for me to sit down and be like, okay, I'm gonna read this book. This one, it was easy going. I went through it. Sometimes you need that brain candy,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and it was decent brain candy.
All right. Any other thoughts we would like to share about the book? Something we didn't discuss?
Probably I'll remember it on my car ride home, but that's okay.
We'll get a text message later. I forgot to mention.
You know it, guys.
Yeah. To be fair, she has an infant, literally here in the room.
She is
So
there.
the fact that we are, first of all, we're super excited to have our Phoebes.
Thanks. I'm excited for her to be
She-
here
she's,
and out.
She's adorable. Yeah, I know you were kind of like, was it Rachel and Friends? Get out,
Get out, get out,
get out.
Mhm.
And but I'm so excited that we were able to restart season 2.
I
This
know.
is exciting.
Thanks for having me back.
I know.
with
What are
my
we reading now? Have we decided?
brunch.
Yes, we have.
Oh, we have. We have. Good.
Mhm.
That's
All right.
right. That's right. Yeah.
But
that's
first, to close out this episode of
Oh.
We're Booked Up, I'm going to promote all the amazing fall programming we have planned throughout the system. Visit GastonLibrary.org and check out the GCPL calendar of events to see what's happening at your favorite branch this fall.
yeah, that's a really great tool. You can pick your
Mhm.
branch. You can pick your type of program that you
Mhm.
want at each location. It's wonderful. And we got a lot of cool stuff coming down the pipe. So
I'm excited.
All right, that's it for this episode of We're Booked Up. Death of the Black Widow is available in print and online at the NC Digital Library through the Libby app. Let us know what you think of the book and what you think of what we think of the book. Just leave a comment at the Off the Shelf blog at gastonlibrary.blogspot.com or at gastonspeaks.podbean.com. Next month's book